Looking alive, Paul. Looking alive.
They've cat troubles again.
Something
This is
strange
going
in
to
the
be a
neighborhood.
persistent problem.
Yeah, that's what I say about you. But today's show is brought to you by Cloudberry Lab. Check them out, cloudberrylab.com/FRD for a free trial offer. Learn how to back up your data just a little bit better. Speaking of things that aren't better, there's Paul. And there's a dongle.
Move your head a little bit so I can see the back of that. Yeah, okay, right. It's a Surface connector.
Yep.
And then a giant box. And then a tiny little USB.
I that's what I wrote up. Is what I don't understand
Microsoft.
about this. If people haven't seen this yet, this is a Walking Cat uncovered the picture of a USB Type C, which you can see down there barely. Dongle for the Surface Pro, I'm assuming. Probably any Surface at this point. But anyway, so basically you plug in the Surface Connect thing, which, as we all know, is roughly an inch long. And then there's this nice little cord, and then
Why is it so big? What is in that thing? Is it a dock?
I'm assuming that you can at least charge using this thing. But
I mean, I mean, you should be able to use USB-C peripherals like hard drives and memory sticks.
I just don't know why it's so big.
Right. That's yes.
Also,
I'll just point
maybe
out,
there's like 9 ports on
it's
this
not
other side that we can't see.
It's also just USB, right? There's no Thunderbolt 3 in this because it wouldn't matter if there was, because that thing you connect it to is USB 3, which is,
right.
1/4 or the bandwidth or something. It's
Thunderbolt, I think, is 40 gigabytes per second or something like that, and USB is nowhere near that.
Yeah. Here's the difference. As Brad has repeatedly tried to make work on Surface, you cannot, over Surface Connect, drive two 4K displays at 60 hertz. But with Thunderbolt 3, you can. You could also drive a external DGPU. It's in a different league altogether.
It's almost like if you were a professional, you might need that, but I don't know what the Pro and Surface Pro is.
Or premium in some way, or forward-leaning in any way. I wrote about Microsoft's need, again, to adopt Thunderbolt 3 this morning, and I referenced articles I wrote in 2017, 2016, and 2015, by the way, in which I said Microsoft needs to adopt USB and or Thunderbolt 3. So it's been a while. It's been a while.
Let's just not jump into anything like 2 Windows 10 updates per year or anything like crazy like that.
Yeah. Exactly. Let's just see how the market, handles this. We don't know if we're going to have full support everywhere on every single device type that is ever made, which is what happened. Oh, boy.
Yeah, let's just look at this thing again. I mean, the nice thing is it could also appears to be a self-defense weapon. You kind of have like a nunchuck-looking thing with you hold that end and then roll it. It's just
I think
huge.
that was in a Kill Bill
putting
movie.
This in their bag. Like,
I
explain yourself, Thurat.
I mean, okay, so first of all, they announced that they were going to deliver this thing sometime last year, for one thing. So this is obviously well behind schedule. Knowing Microsoft, they will still deliver something that looks that ridiculous. But in the context of Steen sealing cat, she really makes me lose track of what I'm thinking of. In the context of Microsoft's attitudes toward USB-C in particular, but also toward Thunderbolt 3, I almost feel like it's that big on purpose. So Microsoft can be like, well, you said you wanted a dongle. Here you go, jerks. Whereas they can point to this other thing they make that's like Surface Connect, and they could say, look how small this is.
Yeah.
God, they really have the wrong attitude about this.
I just don't know who's going to buy this. That's
the use case for this is very small,
right?
I suppose the one legit, and even this is just going to be compromised, is you want to take advantage of some of the newer USB style docks that are available. This would give you the one cable thing to your Surface where you could magnetically connect it with that Surface Connect and take advantage of whatever expansion capabilities are there. But you would still be hampered by the same technological limitations of the Surface dock which is that USB 3 bandwidth issue we were talking about earlier. So
Yeah.
I mean, there's some point to it. But as I wrote earlier today in that Surface article, there's a far bigger point to transitioning the Surface product line to this technology, like to make this be the native power and expansion port that's used. You know, it's like Microsoft has been stuck on the, and this is driven, I know, by the iPad. You know, especially with the first Surface Pros. The idea was the iPad doesn't give you really any great connectivity, although Apple worked out a system where you can do stuff off of the Lightning port, obviously pretty well. So we'll have one USB port, and then video out, and look how much better we are than an iPad. And it's like, yeah, okay, but the problem is it's also competing with PCs, which have multiple USB ports of different kinds, and you know, whatever. And so I'll just say, you know, if they did go USB-C Thunderbolt 3. There's so much space there to have at least two of these things. It doesn't make sense to do otherwise. But even if they just had one, that would still be better than the current setup with USB, Surface Connect, and mini DisplayPort out, or whatever the display out is. It's ludicrous.
He's not wrong, folks. But what he could be wrong about, because I haven't actually read it yet, Paul, is you've got a Mate 10, and we're not talking about your matey cat over there.
No, we're not. Yeah, so Huawei was supposed to have a really big year here in the United States. They were going to launch on AT&T and Verizon with the Mate 10 Pro. They were going to be sold in retail stores like Best Buy. And then the U.S. government stepped in with their little special brand of xenophobia and decided that anything made in China is not welcome here in the United States, except for iPhones. But that's a different story. And there is zero evidence of Huawei or any other Chinese company putting anything in their phones that, you know, for surveillance purposes or whatever the baloney they supposedly are worried about. And I would just point out that these phones are out in the wild. It would be very easy to test if these things were phoning home or whatever, but whatever. So as of today, unfortunately, you can't buy them at a carrier. You can't get them at Best Buy anymore either, although I guess until stocks run out. But you can buy them at Amazon and B&H and at other electronic retailers. And it is a flagship class system, 6 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs of storage, and a Snapdragon 835 class processor, literally almost identical, if not a little bit better, based on benchmarks. There's some special stuff going on here. They have a neural processing unit that works with the camera to auto-detect scenes and not have you forced to go pick out the scene type like you have to do on a Samsung phone. The camera is pretty great. The build quality is excellent. It's got an all-glass body. It's beautiful to look at. It's the 18:9, modern, almost bezel-less, form factor. It's got everything, but for two things: the aforementioned availability issues in the United States, which kind of stink. Although I'd point out, Google is almost as bad. I mean, I think you can get Google phones at Sprint to one of the carriers, but for the most part, those are, you get them over the web. And the other issue is that Samsung just came out with the Galaxy S9 and S9 Plus, and those have a faster processor. They're even more beautiful designs. Cameras are a little bit better, and they're only a little bit more expensive. And that's the thing. So last week, Huawei actually had a sale on this phone, the Mate 10 Pro. It was $100 off. I was kind of hoping they were going to keep that price because at $700 versus $800, this thing is pretty close to no-brainer territory. It's a great phone, and certainly compared to the Pixel, it's a no-brainer. But at $800 versus $840 for an S9 Plus, it's you'd have to spend the $40. I mean, you'd be crazy not to get the Samsung.
That's it's one of the. I don't want to say it's a bad thing. Consumer choice is always great. It's just that there's so many choices on that high-end Android line. You really can't. You can go with that phone. You can go with a Samsung. You can go. I don't know if I recommend a Pixel anymore, but you have a lot of choices, and you can basically find exactly what fits your needs, which is a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, Android phones are complex. There's so many different versions of Android and skins and launchers and custom apps and apps you can't uninstall, which is always terrible. Huawei's a pretty good mix of that stuff. I like the UI better than the Samsung UI, frankly. Although you can change, obviously you can change it's Android, but it's just kind of a bad timing, bad circumstances beyond its control. And I hope it changes. They deserve to be sold alongside any phone here in the United States. They're literally just as good.
Yep. And other things that are happened yesterday. If you have been losing sleep over the ability of not being able to run Edge on your Android tablet, Microsoft has made all your wildest dreams come true, and you can now go do that. iPad, there was already out of public beta, and now anybody can go grab all that stuff and just edge it up all over the place.
Yeah, I've been experimenting with Edge and trying to use Edge. I've made Edge my default browser everywhere. I've been taking notes this time because every time something goes wrong, it's a little notch, and one that you'll appreciate is that obviously you can use Edge to post articles to the site, but there are weird glitches with that WordPress form that we use, for the body text that I don't see in other browsers, including such things as you paste an article in, or you drag not an article, I'm sorry, you drag an image into the editor, and it puts it in there, and then it starts adding blank lines under it until you click somewhere else in the document. So you have to move quick because otherwise it just adds all this stuff to it. And I don't know. These kind of things add up over time, unfortunately. So I'm trying. I really am trying. There's a small performance issue with Edge compared to other browsers too, which I can't explain, but it's always been there a little bit, and it's still there a little bit now. And then I tried to put the Android tablet version of Edge on my Chromebook. I thought that'd be kind of cool, but it's not available for that device. That's something that happens in the Play Store if you're familiar with Android. I have multiple Android devices, and so if I go to an app listing in the Android store, I can click on a list, and it will list out all the devices I've registered to my account, and will tell me which are compatible and which aren't. And even on Android phones, it's kind of weird. Every once in a while, you run into an app. It's like it's on 3 of them, but it's not on 2 of them, and it's not. Yeah. It's just something the app maker hasn't done. So Edge does run on the iPad, like you said, and it does run on Android tablets. There's no reason it won't run on Chrome OS. I expect it to. Maybe it already does, depending on which device you have. So I think that's something Microsoft has to do. Somebody on Twitter was like, "Oh, do you think they're blocking it, to prevent Edge on Chrome OS?" And no, I do not. I think this is Microsoft, and I think they will eventually make that work.
Well, there you go. There you go. I got nothing. There's an Apple event here in about 17 minutes. Yeah. And we'll have more on
an
that
education
tomorrow.
event. So it's it's
Yeah,
new iPads are always interesting. I'm hoping for a 13-inch MacBook. That would be very interesting to me personally. That's something I might actually buy, because I had been looking for a MacBook Air replacement, but I found the MacBook Pros are so expensive, and they're just there's a lot of stuff. A lot of things I don't like about them.
I think their next gen MacBook Air will be covered in carpet.
Oh, really? Are you hearing that? Is that
No. I was trying to make fun of Microsoft Surface laptop for being covered in carpet. And
it would be amazing if could you imagine if Apple ever copied Microsoft and came out with an Alcantara or Alcantara-like Surface on one of their devices? Oh, I just said Surface. Oops. That would be amazing.
I can't imagine that carpet or Alcantara on a laptop in a school environment would do.
Right, that's true too. Yep, good point.
Yep. All right, you got anything else for today, Mr. Powell?
No, I'm working on stuff. I'm going to watch the Apple event like you are, I assume, and we'll report back on whatever happens there.
Well,
what about you?
Well, the good news is it's warm outside. The bad news is that it's raining, so I can't go hit some white balls. But at least it's warm. I put down some grass seed yesterday. We'll.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep.
I have grass divots I have to replace because of the plow that plowed our driveway last week. Little big clumps of turf out in a pile of snow in my yard. Looking forward to that.
Yep. Well, at least it's warm-ish, or something.
Getting there. Spring-like.
All right, folks, so that wraps it up for today. Today's show is brought to you by these folks, CollaborateLab.com. Check them out, CollaborateLab.com/FRD for a free trial offer that was going away here very, 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 very soon. Go grab that, and we'll catch you right back here tomorrow with all the Apple-ish maybe goodness, and we'll see what they have up their sleeve and about how they're going to reinvent the education segment. Have yourselves a wonderful day.